for The Exchange, where we want to take a closer look at the implications of this ICJ ruling. Henry Lovat joins me now from Glasgow, Scotland. He's a senior lecturer in international law and politics at the University of Glasgow and has published widely on international law issues. Good to have you here as we continue to parse what has been a very busy week on the legal front. What material impact could this latest ruling from the ICJ have? I mean, we've already learned that it's binding, okay, but likely not enforceable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for inviting me on, Paul. I think that's correct. We're looking at roughly 4 different provisional measures, as they're called. Israel has said that contrary to what we think, it will continue its military offensive. There is some debate, I think, as to the extent to which the wording of the first provisional measure actually allows Israel that, if you like, discretion, that wriggle room to defensively claim that their military offensive is not prohibited by the courts. There's a whole discussion there, but it's not unarguable. There's a second measure about maintaining open the Rafah crossing, and there the key question, of course, is what's going to happen with Egypt. As I understand, the crossing is currently closed, and that's not just down to Israel. The third measure is really interesting. It's about ensuring unimpeded access to competent UN or competent investigative bodies that come from or authorized by the UN. And that runs counter to Israel's traditional approach here. So that, if it materializes, will be a stage to watch. And the last is another measure to report back in 1 month, which I think would be expected.
I am wondering what Israel's level of engagement, though, would be with any of this. And again, what material difference it would make.
Yeah, it's very hard to say. And what's interesting so far is I think if you look at the team, the way Israel engaged with the initial application going back to January, they took it incredibly seriously, very much bringing their A-team to The Hague, and they continue to engage throughout. So at that level, and the legal process, there's no question Israel's taking this seriously and is engaging. When you come to the question of how will all this play out domestically in Israel, will it affect the conflict, the military behavior, military action? That's a different question. And there, I think it probably helps to look at this in the broader context with, as you said, the ICC application that's gone in this week, and other cases around that. There's also an advisory proceeding continuing. So all that together seems to be causing an almost rally around the flag effect within Israel. Certainly that's the way it's being played by Prime Minister Netanyahu and the government and so on. So you do wonder in that case, if despite these measures, they may not actually be making, if you like, a peaceful resolution, that's the term we can use, this conflict further off.
And in fact, you first highlighted that point earlier this year. You wrote that few can, in good conscience, expect the case to have a material bearing on the humanitarian situation in Gaza. And this is what I ask you. Could it, in fact, elicit more belligerence on the part of Israel, less cooperation, and, as you said, more rallying around the flag?
I think that's a very real danger. And it works both ways, right? So on the one hand, there is a risk that you sort of embolden that Israeli sense of siege, a siege mentality, right? The world's against us. We're hanged no matter whatever we do. So what's the phrase? In for a penny, in for a pound, right? If we're going to be hanged regardless, then let's just do what we think we need to do, kind of thing, within our understanding of the applicable legal rules. And the other aspect of this is that I worry about the institutions themselves. International courts are not necessarily particularly robust institutions. You see in other contexts, these courts can cease functioning. They can. We saw previously with the Trump administration's sanctions on the ICC itself. We're kind of into unknown waters here. This is the first time we've seen like a Western, notion liberal democratic state, an ally of the US, in this situation. Who knows how it's going to play out? But I think there are genuine risks all around here. This is my sense, at least.
Yeah, and more in a multipolar world, where do you have those international institutions? How effective can they be? And that actually brings me to my next point. While this case specifically didn't have anything to do with Hamas, of course, there should be international law that helps deal with Hamas as well. Legally, most institutions now have been impotent against a terror organization. And I go to the case of ISIS. That was a terror organization that was met with brutal military actions, actions that the international community said were necessary, actions that, again, killed, injured, and yes, kept humanitarian aid from thousands of civilians. You know, people are asking, where's the equivalence there? What are the measures being taken against Hamas?
Well, I mean, I think, as you say, they're very, very limited, right? For a start, politically, you don't have, if you like, that coalition to lend support and, if you like, lean into Israel and support there, help them do things perhaps better. At the same time, you know, who has leverage over Hamas here? You've got, to be fair, the ICC. What you've seen Karim Khan do is what you would expect and want, right? These are the tools that are available to these institutions, but they're extremely limited. You could perhaps ask questions. Could the Israeli government have gone about things a little bit differently, perhaps a bit smarter? Are there things now that the US, Western Europeans, others, Egypt, Qatar might be able to do, but we're just not there. So it's, you know, there's legal tools available at the moment to address Hamas. I'm afraid we're struggling a bit.
Yeah. But such a good point that you've made that, in fact, some of these rulings may bring us further from peace, not closer to it, as we continue to watch those negotiations. Henry Lovat from the Scotland's University of Glasgow.